in terms of the key highlights that have come in, more details have come in of the order since then. Take us through some of those.
Well, first of all, the Supreme Court has stayed the previous direction which had directed the Delhi-NCR authorities to send all dogs to shelter homes. Now the dogs, as specified in the ABC rules earlier, will be picked up, sterilized, vaccinated and be sent back to the same localities. Secondly, the Supreme Court has said that ABC rules regarding the feeding of stray dogs should be followed, strictly followed. That is, that the dog lovers or animal lovers cannot go on to frivolously feed dogs anywhere they want to. And for this purpose, if someone is found feeding dogs irrespective of the place, remember ABC rules have this clause where every colony, every residential area should have a designated place for where dogs should be feeded. But now the Supreme Court has said that if anyone wants to complain, now MCD should come up with a helpline to register that particular complaint that someone is seen feeding stray dogs recklessly and not in the designated area. So this comes as a big relief for the societies and colonies that have been complaining about reckless stray dog feeding by dog lovers. Now another important point that the Supreme Court has said that it has enlarged the scope of the entire case. There are, remember, several cases pending across Delhi, across high courts in the country regarding the policies and the implementations of the ABC rules which are there to regulate stray dogs. Now the Supreme Court has said that every case pertaining to the menace or the problems faced by people across the country will be heard here in the Supreme Court, and has directed that all the NGOs or the dog animal lovers, whoever wants to put their point forward, can come to the top court, but the condition is that they will have to pay 25,000 to 2 lakh rupees as impediment fee in the top court. So this is kind of a housekeeping step by the top court, so that not everyone
That's a very important clarification and an important point, Nupur, that you're telling, because earlier it said that that there is no punishment or fine, so to say, that is there. It's about those who want to be part of the proceedings. This is what they need to pay. Very quickly, before I get in Ishika, who has Ambika Shukla with her, which is that let's not lose sight of the other aspect of it, that there have been rabies cases, which is why this was picked up suo motu by Supreme Court. How does that get addressed? There have been 54 rabies deaths across India because of the stray dog menace. How does that get tackled? Do you think that national policy that will come in is what will be the way forward? Any observations from the Supreme Court on that? All right, let's go back to Ishika, and hopefully by then the audio line with Nupur would also be fixed. Ishika, let's get in Ambika for some of these other aspects of the verdict that is coming in right now. What is her take on several of these other aspects? Okay, I believe that audio line with Ishika has, we'll try and connect that in just a bit. Ishika is speaking with, and she has Ambika Shukla with her. On the other aspect, while viewers, you're tuning in right now, the dog lovers, animal activists have a point that there has to be a humane policy in terms of addressing the stray dog issue, but one cannot lose sight of the other aspect. Why this was a suo motu case picked up by the Supreme Court because of rabies deaths that have taken place. Children, little children to the age of 4, 5, 6 are being bitten and killed because of rabies, which is why it's such a big issue. Ishika, is my audio coming in? Can you hear me?
Well, yes, Gauri, I can hear you very clearly, and I have, in fact, Ambika Shukla as well. And as you were rightly mentioning, more aspects of the order has now come out. Ma'am, it's a big no to the relocation, certainly, with this order. But there is, in fact, if we talk about the aggressive breed, there, in fact, Supreme Court has said that they will be in the shelter homes. Now, all the cases which were in the high courts, they will be shifted. So how are you looking at all of these aspects of the Supreme Court's order?
We are there is no way of establishing what is an aggressive dog. It is a very subjective definition. So they have to be very clear and categorical, guidelines laid out for it, who will establish, who will examine, and these have been set out already in the ABC rules. So let the ABC rules continue to determine what is this. It cannot be a class for municipal worker who decides what is an aggressive dog. It cannot be somebody who is afraid of dogs who decides what is an aggressive dog. It cannot be any subjective layperson's decision. It has to be an expert call. There have to be veterinarians involved. There have to be animal behaviorists involved. That would be a fair interpretation of the court's order. So I look forward to a sensible interpretation of the order, not leading to any subjective discrimination, not leading to any cruelty that can possibly stem from this kind of direction that is open. So we need to interpret, and I think that is where the Animal Welfare Board will need to step up and actually lay out very clear and categorical definitions. It should not be left like an open description, because that will be tantamount to cruelty. If we say that all dangerous persons should be kept behind bars, now who decides who is dangerous? There are very strict codes laid down in the same way for humans, that what would constitute a danger to society, who would constitute a danger to the nation, who would constitute a danger, basically. And those are very clearly laid out in our criminal code. Similarly, we need the definition to come from animal experts, animal behaviorists, the veterinarians, and the people with domain expertise. It should not be open to every RWA president to decide who is a dangerous dog.
Ma'am, another point that has come out in Supreme Court's order is that it has said that those dog lovers or the NGOs who are petitioners and who wish to impede in Supreme Court's hearing of the larger issue will have to pay 25,000 to 2 lakh fees to take part in these hearings. So how do you look at this as well?
I find this a deeply disappointing move, because the basic promise of justice is made to every Indian citizen, no matter how poor they may be, where they come from, who they are. The Supreme Court has always been a beacon for redressal, and it is something that with every citizen feels hopeful that there is justice, because there is a court system, and at which the apex of which is the Supreme Court. So for the Supreme Court to lay down a fiscal fine or punishment or condition for anybody to approach them for justice is a severe deterrent to anybody wanting justice and redressal. So I find this astonishing, confusing, and I hope they will reconsider this, because this is not something that encourages anybody seeking justice to approach the court. And where else can we go?
So Gauri, as you heard, certainly, Ambika Shukla clearly saying that this point is something that the Supreme Court also needs to reconsider. Over to you.
All right. That was Ishika speaking to Ambika Shukla, who's welcomed the Supreme Court order that has come in. It's a relief for dog lovers, for animal activists, and for stray dogs as well, who will now be, the ABC formula will be followed, which is to catch, neuter, and release in the same habitat. But what happens to the fundamental issue in terms of the menace of dog bites, the rabies issue, which has actually been the reason why the Supreme Court picked this case up suo moto. Let's get in Radhika Ramaswamy, my colleague, who's joining us live from Mumbai and talking to several people, because now, Radhika, the Supreme Court said today it's not just a Delhi-NCR issue, and it isn't. It is a national issue. It needs to be seen holistically, and now states and union territories have been asked to give their response the next 8 weeks. You've been speaking to people. What are they saying about a holistic, comprehensive dog policy to ensure no arbitrary but a proper way in being able to address both sides of the issue?
That's right. A holistic policy is something that the Supreme Court has spoken about, which is why it has sought responses from other states as well. And I am with a couple of animal lovers and activists right here. In fact, they welcome Supreme Court's order today, but at the same time, they have questions in terms of implementation, or as far as some of the, the observations of the court, or in terms of how they can be released, how the vaccination can happen in a structured way. Let me go across to them, Shaishta as well as Khushi. Khushi, to you first. I mean, you were questioning some of the implementation as far as the vaccination procedure is concerned, and what do you mean by structured feeding zones? Anyway, what are your thoughts on Supreme Court modifying the earlier order?
Yeah, so this is an absolute win to me because it recognizes our practical realities and animal welfare. We never had the infrastructure to move lakhs of stray dogs into shelters safely and effectively. I think that it's unfortunate that we had to come to this point, but I'm hoping that the silver lining from this emotional roller coaster is that people are now more compassionate towards our stray animals, and they are more aware of the issue and the correct way to solve the problem of their population and their mistreatment. So my question is that now this Supreme Court order has given us time and space to act. We cannot leave things as is. The problem is not solved. Even though the noise in our nation may die down, how is the sterilization and the vaccination going to happen? Is the onus is now on our authorities, on our communities, to actually make sure it goes through. There are a lot of other things that have to be done as well.
The Supreme Court's order that has come out, which has amended the earlier Delhi stray order, which it has now said, in fact, it's a now detailed amendment that has come out, which very categorically says that the ABC formula, the policy, will be followed. Catch, neuter, release will be followed, which is the law of the land, and the verdict now aligns with that. Along with that, there are several key important aspects of this verdict. First and foremost being that there is now going to be a national policy with regard to stray dogs. It is not a Delhi-NCR issue and should not be seen in that context. Let's get in Tara Deshpande, actor and author, joining us for more on this. MC Abbas is a political analyst and commentator. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me on this broadcast. Tara, let me start with you. A big relief for animal activists with the changes that have been made by and the amendments that the Supreme Court has come out with.
Yes, a big relief. We're all very grateful to the Supreme Court for staying what was a very unfeasible order. Not possible to build so many shelters in 8 weeks, let alone a year. Also, not enough money to do that. This new order is welcome because it highlights the importance of feeding animals, but in specific areas. It brings in all the states and makes them a party to this issue to help resolve this problem. I think the sterilize, neuter, and then release is the only method that has ever worked to curb community dog or stray dog populations, which is fabulous. We must not lose sight of the fact that we still need a lot more rabies vaccine education camps. We need to make people aware of how to deal with it if they have a dog bite. And we also need to be supportive of people who are having problems with packs of stray dogs in their areas. I don't think anybody should be, as I've said before, afraid to walk the streets or afraid to take their kids to school. But this has a humane solution and not a rushed and sort of cruel solution.
Getting a view from Abbas as well on this. There are the other sides to it. Well, the case was picked up suo moto by the Supreme Court because of the concern with regard to rabies. And how does that get addressed? The comprehensive dog policy with regard to stray animals and stray dogs in India, will that address that fundamental concern that many people are asking? And that remains one of the primary concerns as far as the policy is concerned. Let's get in Abbas's view on this and what he feels about the verdict. Go ahead, Abbas.
Gauriji, I've always believed with great power there's great responsibility and equal accountability. The fact is, accountability needs to come in here. If we look at India, there are 6.2 crore stray dogs. If you account the 100% of rabies-related deaths across the world, 35% of these rabies deaths are here in India. Thousands of rabies bites, dog bites, which are being reported. We need to understand one thing very importantly. We need to understand, be it dogs, cats, or any of the creatures of the world have every right, as much as we humans have, to belong to this earth. The earth belongs to all. But the fact we need to understand, Gauriji, the number of deaths which are happening is absolutely not okay. Back home, where I stay here in Bengaluru, I can tell you there was a 70-year-old man who was taking a walk. 8 stray dogs attacked him, took flesh off his face, torso, and limbs. What happens to that man? 2 months after, A 3-month-old baby was mauled to death here in Karnataka. And these are just 2 cases that I'm talking about. Also, very recently in the news, I heard there was a girl, 6-year-old girl in Udupi, Karnataka. She died of rabies. She was attacked by a dog. These are absolutely not okay. Let me also take a moment and tell you that there are also certain criminals who are attacking stray dogs unprovoked. They need to be sent in jail. But the fact of the matter is, when we speak of the Animal Birth Control Bill 2023, I really question this bill because what about the implementation? It's a fantastic bill on paper. What about its execution? What
Okay.
about its implementation? It's not being done the way it is. Had it been executed well, we wouldn't even come to the Supreme Court. The fact is, bills are good on paper. They need to be implemented well.
No, I think that's
completely
only one
stand for
part of it.
vaccinations
No,
of
I
stray
think
dogs.
Abbas, that's only one part of it, that the rule is not being followed. But also the fact that, while one may say that municipal authorities need to be held accountable for not doing their work and not doing their job and not implementing this law, the other aspect also is that there are ferocious animals on the streets, Tara. There are those who are irresponsibly feeding dogs without actually having any designated spots with regard to feeding. And there are those who need to be more aware of the fact that there are ferocious stray dogs which do hunt and prey on, let's say, whether it's the young children, 4-year, 5-year, 6-year-old or senior citizens. Do you think the amendments that have come in place now, Tara, will be able to address all these concerns that citizens have?
Yes, I think it will, because I think a great deal of awareness has been created about the problem. But let me also say this, that a lot of the figures that were mentioned earlier are not necessarily correct. A lot of these figures have been inflated. They are a bit misleading. They don't really tell you whether the bite was from a dog or from some other animal. Let me also state that, dog haters would like the world to believe that the only way people are hurt in this country or die in this country are through rabies. I don't think they think that people are dying in floods, people are dying because bridges collapse, people are dying for various other reasons in this country, all of which, including rabies or attacks by stray dogs, are highly avoidable. But please also understand that we don't have enough money to carry out these sterilizations. The kind of budgets that are being provided are very, very low. You need a lot more to be able to do this. Yes, the civic authorities have let us down, and most of what is done comes from the pockets of private individuals. Now, as far as feeding goes, where are the designated community spots to feed animals? If you have these designated spots, people will very happily go to these spots. But you have to provide them before you can say that, oh, they're feeding them everywhere else. Where else are they going to feed them if you don't give them the spots? If the direction is not provided, if the infrastructure is not provided, what do you expect people to do? Understand that animal feeders feed animals out of their own money. This money doesn't come from anyone. And by feeding animals, they keep them calmer. Can you imagine a pack of dogs that's starving? What it would do compared to a pack of dogs that's actually been fed. And let me give you Mumbai as an example. We have done a great deal through sterilization, through vaccination, to control our populations. The Malabar Hill population, for instance, 10 years, no change. A dip of 30% or more in the Marine Drive area. 68% dip in Bandra West. So sterilization is the only method that works. As far as ferocious dogs go, yes, no dog that's hurting or biting people should be allowed. It should be picked up, it should be taken, it should be assessed in a center. Absolutely agree, no question. But there are too many people who want to say, this dog did it, kill all the other dogs. We have seen innumerable examples, including people who are elected authorities, talking about massacring dogs and burying them under trees and saying that they make excellent manure for the fields.
Tara, we're not saying any of that, and we are not entertaining any of those extremely rabid ideas as well. Okay, Abbas, very quickly, I have to take a break, but very quickly. Yeah.
The fact is, Madam spoke about inflated figures. Ma'am, I present you the ICMR report. Also, very important, NDTV also, which is submitted, or India Today, or several other news channels, including the Hindu and Deccan Herald, is where I present my data from. Also, as a matter of fact, let us understand
many of them are different. I'm sure you'll agree, many of them are different.
Stray dogs to be culled. Absolutely not.
All right.
That is not the way to go about.
Okay, all right. I have to interrupt you both there. I have to take a break, viewers.